Alright, so this is lesson 5.2, and we'll use A there because I'm sure there'll be a second or maybe even a third. This is called division with exponents, and this section is rather long, and we're just going to go through each of these sections one piece at a time. And if you remember, we did in 5.1, we did multiplication. This one we're going to do division. Alright, so division is not really too difficult, but there are a couple ways that I teach it, and you can pick which way you like the best. So, for example, we have x to the fifth over x cubed. That means, remember when we did multiplication, you know, the inverse or the opposite of multiplication is addition. So if we had 3 squared times 3 cubed, we'd get 3 to the 2 plus 3, and we'd get 5. Well, division is very similar to that, but instead of adding to get our 3 to the 5th, in division we subtract. So this is x to the 5 minus 3, which is x squared. Okay? So that's how it works. Now, there is another way in order to do this, and we'll do the exact same problem. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to say we're going to pick the smallest number, and it's the 3, and we're going to say we're going to take all 3 of those away, and we're going to take 3 of those away, and that leaves me with x squared. Okay, so we took all of the x's away there, and we took 3 of the 5 away there, leaving us with 2. So basically it's 5 minus 3, but later on you might find that the second way is easier for some problems. Okay, so it's just basically, well, let's look at it and see kind of why it works. X cubed, that equals x times x times x times x times x over, and any number over itself can be canceled. So we can cancel all of those, leaving us with an x squared. Okay, or I just say I'm going to take the smallest number of exponents and get rid of all those and take 3 of them away from there and left with 2. Okay, so whichever way you like, that will work for what we're doing here. If I have 2 to the 4th over 2 to the 7th, that gives me 2 to the 4 minus 7, which equals 2 to the negative 3. Okay, that doesn't look really nice. Whereas if we just look and say, well, I'm going to take the smallest one, 4, and get rid of that, and take 4 away from the 7, I have that left, and I have 1 over 2 cubed, which is 1 over 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. That looks a little bit more familiar when you do that than this does. Okay, so now that we got 2 to the negative 3, let's see what in the world that actually means. 2 to the negative 3. Anytime you have a negative exponent, what that means is that the number in front of it and the number after it are in the wrong place. And what do I mean by the wrong place? 2 to the negative 3. If we were to write that as a fraction, it would be 2 to the negative 3 over what? Over 1. And if I say that the 2 and the 3 are in the wrong place, and that's what this negative means, then that means the 2 and the 3 need to go down here instead of being on top. So that's what that negative means. That if it's in the numerator, then it should be down here. If it's down here, it should be up here. So this answer is actually 1 over 2, and once we move it to the right place, we take the negative off, which is 1 over 8. If I have 2 over 3 to the minus 2, what that means is that the 3 and the 2 are in the wrong place and they need to move up. Okay, notice, this 2 does not move down. It doesn't have a negative in front of it. It's in the right place. It's just that doggone 3 that's in the wrong place. So, I bring the 3 and the 2 up and multiply it by the 2, and I get 18. Okay, so that's all that negative means, is that the exponent next to it and the number to the left to it, both of those are in the wrong place, and we need to move them to the right place. Okay, so let's keep looking at some of these examples. Now those are called negative exponents, and get used to using those because you will use those from now on. They don't go away. So if we had 3 to the third power times 3 to the negative 1, again, we're multiplying, so that's 3 to the 3 plus what? Negative 1. You add the exponents, equals 3 squared equals 9. So let's try example 1. Let's look at 2 to the negative third. Okay, let's just write this as a fraction. And then that tells me that the 2 and the 3 are in the wrong place. So I'm going to put them in the right place. Now remember, what we did not do, we did not take this 1 and moved it up. It's just when we move this down, we can't have nothing on top. There's always a 1 on top. So this one here is not this one. We did not flip it over. Some teachers teach that that's what you do. It is not what you do. You will end up with a mess if you do that. And then that gives us 1 over 8. Okay, let's look at the b part of it. Negative 5. And we are negative 2. So again, let's go ahead and write this as negative 5 over 1 to the negative 2 power. And let's move that negative 5 down. Okay, and the 2 down. And notice the negative 5 is in parentheses, so we leave it in parentheses and we leave a 1 up there. So this squared, remember, if the negative is in the parentheses, it also gets squared. And we get 1 over 25. Alright, let's look at the C part of this problem. And C says negative 5 to the negative 2. Okay, again, what numbers are we considering? The 5 and the 2. Okay, we really don't care about this. It's not in parentheses, so this isn't really part of the 5. It doesn't really matter. Alright, so we're going to make that like that. Now we're going to move the 5 and the 2 down. Okay, so the negative stays there. Gives us negative 1 over 25. Alright, let's look at D. 3x to the negative 6. Okay, so what is in the wrong place? Whatever's in front of it and whatever's after it. Not the 3. Just what the first thing that you come to on the left, the first thing you come to the right. So these two, the x into the 6th, are in the wrong place. The 3 is in the right place, so it stays where it is, and we move the x to the 6th down. Alright, so let's look at 3x parentheses negative 6. So what does that mean? That means whatever's left, which is going to be everything in the parentheses, that's what the parentheses mean, and the 6. So that means everything is in the wrong place. So let's make that into a fraction, and the 3x and the 6 are in the wrong place, so we're going to move them here, and they're going to be under 1. So all, again, that negative means is whatever that exponent is in the wrong place, and the number that that exponent is associated with. Now, if it wasn't a parenthesis like up here, that 6 is just associated with the x. But since I have it in parentheses, that 6 associates everything within the parentheses. Okay? So a lot of stuff here. Now, not only do we move that 3x down, but what is that 6? That 6 is associated with the 3 and the x, and if you have an answer like this, you're going to get the wrong number, because this whole thing is in parentheses. And remember, now I take 3 to the 6th, x to the 6th. And 3 to the 6th power is 729. Can't do anything with that x, so it stays x to the 6th. So see what happens? If it's in parentheses, that 3, alright, that 3 is put to the 6th power and the x is put to the 6th power. Okay, one of the things that I need to bring up real quick before I forget. Always, always, always get rid of the negative sign here first before you do anything else. Because what is 3 to the negative 6th power? I mean, what do you do with it? All you know is 3 to the 6th power is 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Well, 3 to the negative 6th power, you can't do. So you get rid of the negative first, make it a positive by moving the numbers into the right position, then take these numbers to the positive power, because you can do that. Okay? Very important to do that first. Okay, so let's look at example 2. We have x to the 9th over x to the 6th. So again, there's two ways of doing that. X to the 9 minus 6, which is x cubed, or, let's go ahead and write the same thing here again. I look for the smallest exponent, it's right there. I'm going to take those 6 away, and I'm going to take 6 away from there, and I have x cubed left over. Okay? So either way works for you, that's fine, because when you get something like b, we have this, whoops, no we don't. We have x to the 10th, which is x to the 4 minus 10 equals x to the minus 6, which equals 1 over x to the 6. You usually want to leave your answer with a positive exponent. So you're going to have to change this to that. And if we do it the other way, x to the 4th over x to the 10th, we find the smallest one. We have 4 of those. We get rid of that. We get 4 of those, and we have 6 left. So we have 1 over x to the 6th. So we have that on the bottom. And since we got rid of all those, remember you can't have nothing on top, so there's always going to be a 1. So this took a lot fewer steps than that did. Okay, C says 2 to the 15th over 2 to the 20th. So again, this is 2 to the 15 minus 20 equals 2 to the negative 5th equals 2 to the negative 5th over 1. Our 2 and 5 are in the wrong place, so we move them down, and we get that. 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16, times 2 is 32. And there's my answer. And if you do it the other way, you have 2 to the 15th over 2 to the 20. Smallest one you get rid of. We get rid of 15 of these, and I have 1 over 2 to the 5th, which is 1 over 32. Okay? So that will always work. Either way will always work. It just kind of depends on what you get used to, and then you go from there. Alright, so one last thing before I stop this video and go on to the next one, which is property 5 for exponents. And that just means if we have something like 3/5 squared, that means the top number is squared and the bottom number is squared. So we get 9 over 25. That's pretty much what that part means, that property there for 5. So I'm going to go ahead and close this video and start the next one with example 3.